their faces, their routines, their smiles. But the truth is the scariest monsters don't always hide in forests or abandoned houses. Sometimes they share your eyes. They hear you. They act you. And they wait for the moment you stop paying attention. These aren't rumors or urban legends. These are true stories from ordinary people who discovered too late that the person living used a steps as hiding summit ou think ou know the people living next door hing far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. So lock your doors, dry your curtains and listen closely. Because tonight you're about to find out what happens when the danger isn't miles out but right next door. The first story comes from a man named Lacy, who moved into a quiet suburban neighborhood at the end of July. She has excited, ne home, ne job, a fresh start. The street is beautiful, lined with old trees that whispered gently whenever the wind passed through. Kids rode their bikes in the afternoon, couples attended their gardens in the evening. Everything felt safe. Normal. Perfect. Except for one house. It sat directly across from hers, a dark blue, two-story home with its blinds always shut. No porch light, no movement, no sound. Only a single old car in the driveway that never seemed to go anywhere. The house felt wrong. Not in a dramatic awe, just a quiet heaviness, like someone inside us holding their breath. On her second night, hele unpacking boxes, Lacy noticed something odd. The curtains in the house across the street twitched, just slightly, like someone was peeking out. She leaned forward, curious, but the curtain immediately fell still. She shrugged it off, ne place eaters, she told herself. But the feeling didn't go away. Every night, around the same time, between 3 and midnight, she would feel that sensation of being watched. She'd look up from her laptop or whatever she was doing and there it was again. The curtain. Moved just enough to let someone look through. No light came from inside the house. It was always pitch black. Lacy didn't mention it to anyone. She didn't want to sound paranoid. But by the fourth night, she couldn't ignore it anymore. This time, she decided to test it. She walked to her window slowly, keeping her eyes locked on the house across the street. She didn't turn on any lights, just stood there in the darkness. Then, without warning, she waved. Just a little. A small, casual wave. Instantly, the curtain snapped shut like someone jerked it back. Her stomach dropped. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual and peeked outside. The house looked dead again, blinds tightly shut, tar unmoved, no signs of life. She felt silly, embarrassed for even worrying. But that same night, at the same time, the itching started again. Only this time something changed. Instead of just the curtain twitching, she saw soft movement inside the dark window. Slow. Deliberate. Like a silhouette shifting closer. She backed off from her own window, heart pounding. Stop it, she whispered to herself. You're imagining things. But she hasn't. The next day, around noon, someone knocked on her door. She opened it to find a young girl, maybe 16, standing nervously with a backpack. Are you here? The girl asked. Yes, Lacy smiled. Just moved in last egg. The girl didn't smile back. She kept glancing over her shoulder at the blue house across the street. Listen. I'm not supposed to talk about this. But just be careful at night. Don't keep your windows open. Before Lacy could ask anything, the girl rushed off like she'd said too much. Lacy watched her go, confused and uneasy. Hen night time, the curtain started even earlier, around 10 apiece. This time, instead of hiding, Lacy grabbed her phone and started recording from her dark window. She zoomed in on the horse, keeping her hands steady. Minutes and do nothing. No movement. Just when she was about to stop recording, the curtain slowly pulled back. Not like Someone as speaking. More like Someone as moving it intentionally to let her see inside. Her camera picked up the faint outline of a face. Not details, just a pale shape. But it was enough to freeze her blood. She gasped, stepped back, and the curtain across the street snapped closed again. She reviewed the footage. The moment the curtain opened, her phone screen glitched, static lines shooting across the image, like something didn't want to be seen clearly. That night, she barely slept. The next morning, she decided she needed answers. She walked across the street and knocked on the dark blue door. No movement. No footsteps. No response. She knocked again, louder. Still silence. Just when she was about to give up, she heard something from inside. A shuffle. A slow dragging sound. Then a whisper. Very close to the door. Go back inside. Lacy stumbled backward. That voice wasn't angry. It was empty. Hollow. Like someone who hadn't spoken in years. She backed out, heart racing, and hurried into her own house, locking the door behind her. At 3 a.m., she woke to a sound. Not inside her home, but outside her bedroom window. A soft tapping. Like a fingernail on glass. Lacy sat up slowly, terrified. The tapping grew faster, more impatient. She didn't move. She didn't breathe. Finally, she forced herself to look. And there, in the darkness beyond the glass, was a shape. Not a clear face. Not a full figure. Just an outline, tall, thin, pressed against her window. Aching. Aiting. Her scream choked in her throat. She reached for her phone with shaking hands, but before she could unlock it, the shape slowly leaned out from the glass and vanished into the night. The next morning, she called the police. They searched her yard, her porch, her windows. But the officer said something that terrified her more than anything else. There are no footprints. No smudges. Nothing at all. However, all saw us standing on the ground. Lacy moved out into days. The house across the street is still there, blinds shut, windows dark, tar unmoved. And every few months, a neighbor moves into the home opposite it, but they never stay long. Because sooner or later they feel the same thing at night. Someone is watching them. Someone is eating. Someone standing at their window without ever touching the ground. The second story belongs to a man named Victor. He lived in a small apartment building, one of those old, fading complexes from the 1980s. Here the halls smelled like rust and old carpet, and the walls were thin enough for all to hear someone sneeze to doors down. It wasn't a great place, but it was cheap, and Victor liked keeping to himself. Quiet life. No drama. Until the neighbor moved in next door. It was late August when he first heard them. Not footsteps. Not moving furniture. But humming. Low, soft humming, like a lullaby, but out of tune, slightly arped, like however as humming didn't fully know the melody. It always happened at the same time. Du, statenbediet not du, besenbediet. Not du, niezed. Always. Du, statenbediet, Victor old ake up suddenly, like someone had whispered his name. Then he'd heard it, a thin voice through the all, humming that strange lullaby over and over. He tried ignoring it at first. Apartments are noisy. People had odd habits. But something felt off. It wasn't the humming itself, it was how close it sounded. Like the neg. Victor froze. His breath choked in his throat. The voice as reef behind the owl. He didn't answer. He couldn't. And after a few seconds of silence, the humming started again, slow, shaky, like the voice as smiling. Victor didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he entered the building manager's office. Who's staying in unit 204, he asked. The manager frowned. No one. Victor blinked. Had do mean no one? So meone moved in last egg. Ive heard them every night. The manager shook his head. The place is empty. Ive been trying to get someone to rent it for months. Victor felt the blood drain from his face. But I heard them. At du, statenbediet every night. The manager pulled out a clipboard. 204 had a tenant 3 months ago. A man in her pesvietse. Lived alone. She passed out in the apartment. Victor stepped back. Passed out. She hurt herself, the manager said carefully. They said she had insomnia. Severe insomnia. She used to hum to herself every night used to stay awake. Victor felt sick. That night he stayed awake on purpose, sitting in bed with the lights on, watching the clock. Du, 14. Du, 15. Du, 16. He pressed his palms against his ears, preparing himself. Du, 17. Silence. No humming. No whisper. Nothing. Victor let out a shaky breath. Maybe it was over. Then 3 slow knocks on the wall behind him. He jumped up so fast the bed shook. Then came the whisper again, soft, sad, trembling, are ou ake. Victor? He staggered but scared. How did it know his name? He bolted out of the bedroom and slept on the couch, but the knocking continued, slow, patient, following him down the hall like it knew exactly where he moved. The next morning, he told his sister and begged her to stay with him for a few nights. She agreed. That night, he explained everything. She laughed at first, thinking he was joking. Ghost lullabies? Really? Maybe ou need sleep. He forced a smile, but his chest felt tight. They stayed up together, lights on, TV playing softly in the background. At du, statenbediet the TV suddenly flickred. Then, the humming began. Soft. Arped. Coming from the hall behind them. Victor's sister's smile vanished instantly. No, she whispered. No, the humming grew louder, more desperate, like the voice as trying to push through the hall. Then came the knocking, harder this time. 5 knocks. Slow. Rhythmic. Almost pleading. Victor's sister grabbed his arm. Ere leaving. No. They ran out of the apartment so fast they left the TV, lights, everything on. They spent the night in her car, parked outside the building. At sunrise, Victor went back in alone to grab essentials before leaving for good. His apartment felt different, colder. Heavy. He stepped into the bedroom slowly, not wanting to look at the wall. But something caught his eye. Scratch marks. Thin, long, frantic scratch marks running down the wall like fingernails had dragged across it over and over. Some marks were deep, so deep they exposed the odd beneath the pain. Victor stumbled but scared. Then he saw something even worse. On the wall fine but unmistakable someone had written with a shaky hand, "Please don't leave me alone." Victor ran out of the apartment so fast he didn't even lock the door. He moved out the next day. The building manager later told him something disturbing. They had to patch the wall in his old bedroom. Not because of the scratches, those were old. Fa dead. But the reading? That reading as fresh. Horse old. Still at hand they found it the building still rents unit 204 to die. Cheap price. God lotation. But tenants don't last long. Because every time Someone moves into the apartment next door. They start acting up at exactly 2:17 am, and they hear a man humming softly trying desperately not to be alone again. The final story comes from a couple, Daniel and Mara, who moved into a quiet neighborhood at the very end of summer. They had been looking for a calm place to start their lives, no noise, no chaos, just peace. The kind of street here people attered their lands each morning and away to each other from their driveways. They found that street. A cozy cul-de-sac it sits houses. 5 of them are bright, living. And on that asn. House number 20. It sat at the far end, right next to the odds. Unlike the others, its yard is overgrown, the mailbox rusted shut, and all the windows covered from inside is something that isn't treated curtains. More like shades. Heavy, dark shades. The neighbors avoided talking about it whenever Mara asked about the house, people all changed the subject. Some even looked nervous. But Daniel brushed it off, probably used someone who likes privacy. Until the first night they slept there. At 3:20 am, they woke to a noise. A soft metallic clang coming from outside their window. Daniel got up, peeked through the blinds, and saw faint movement near house 20. Like someone stepping behind the tree line. He squinted, trying to focus. Nothing. Just darkness. The next morning, he told Mara, and she frowned. Maybe someone lives there after all. That evening, they watched from their porch as the sun set. On the other houses turned on their porch lights. Except house 20. It stayed dark. Heavy. Quiet. Around 10 p.m., they heard footsteps along the street, slow, dragging on us. Daniel peeked through the blinds again. A tall figure as walking down the road, head slightly tilted to the side as if listening to something only they could hear. The figure stopped directly in front of house 20. Then turned its head toward Daniel and Mara's house. Even from across the road, Daniel felt the stare like a eye. The figure stepped backward into the darkness beside the house 20 and vanished. They didn't sleep much that night. Over the next few days, strange things started happening. Small at first. Barely noticeable. But always connected to house 20. Every morning, fresh footprints appeared in the decovered grass leading toward the odds. Long, deep footprints that didn't match any neighbor's shoes. Sometimes late at night, the lights in Daniel and Mara's house flickered for no reason, never during the day. Only after 9 p.m. And always when they were close to the windows facing house 20. Daniel tried to stay rational. Bad hearing. Animals in the yard. People walking late. But Mara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Like someone or something, they were ne. They didn't belong here. They were vulnerable. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday, around 20 am, Daniel and Mara were asleep when they heard it, a cracking sound, slow and rhythmic. It wasn't the house. It was outside. Daniel sat up listening. Crack. Pause. Crack. Pause. Not footsteps. Not branches. Something else. He walked to the window, pulled the blinds just a little, and froze. There was someone sitting on the swing set in the backyard of house 20. A tall figure. He had lowered. rocking slowly back and forth on a single old thing that shouldn't have been tall. Still. Facing there into the one that looked directly at Hose Dumbledore. Its head tilted listening. Daniel slammed the door shut silently and locked it. Then they heard something that made Mara cover her mouth to keep from screaming. The figure whispered. Not words. Not a voice. A sound. The exact same cracking rhythm as the thing set outside the Hose Dumbledore. Crack. 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 Only not as inside their house. The footsteps began again, moving slowly down the hallway toward their bedroom. Daniel dialed 990 with shaking fingers. The footsteps stopped right outside their door. The cracking stopped too. Silence. Then the doorknob turned slowly, like someone testing it gently, almost politely. But the lock held. The figure exhaled. A low, rattling breath that sounded too long, too cold, too wrong to belong to anything human. 2 minutes later, they heard sirens approaching. And the figure simply stopped breathing. Stopped moving. Stopped everything. When police entered the house, they found nothing. No footprints. No marks. No sign of forced entry. The windows were locked. Doors too. But one officer and pale hen had checked the backyard of House Dumbledore. The old thing set had stopped moving, but the dirt beneath the thing as freshly disturbed. Deep, heavy impressions. As if someone had been sitting there all night. Even worse, there were footprints leading from the thing set straight to Daniel and Mara's house. But none leading back. Daniel and Mara moved out within the egg. House Dumbledore still sits at the end of the cul-de-sac, quiet, dark, silent. No one goes near it, even kids avoid it during the day. People say that on some nights, especially at the end of summer, you can still hear the sound of that thing moving back and forth. Cracking slowly. I think for someone else to notice. If these stories made you look over your shoulder tonight. Remember, the terror doesn't always hide in forests, basements, or abandoned houses. Sometimes. It lives right next door. Behind familiar walls. Through the windows you leave open at night. The people you greet with a smile every morning. These aren't legends. They are real. Real neighbors. Real needs. Real fear. And the scariest part? You never know which door is hiding the truth. If you felt that chill creeping up your spine, hit the like button. It helps others find these stories and join us in the darkness. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, because every egg, a dive deeper into true horror tales that make the ordinary deadly. I want to hear from you. Share in the comments the weirdest or scariest thing that's ever happened around your neighborhood. Maybe your story will inspire the next video, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be the one that makes someone else look over their shoulder tonight. Sleep carefully. Keep your doors locked, and whatever you do, pay attention to the person living next door. Because sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones you see every day.